Hello, hello, this is Blake Hart here. I'm starting something really cool. Last night I had the pleasure of sitting down and talking to Sian McMullen, who is a sound engineer. And yeah, this is something, I had this idea. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I just had sat down, talked to a bunch of different women in the music industry, shared their story, and I thought that would be something I would have enjoyed, both as my younger self and even today, because I think that as women we don't get a ton of exposure, and I know there's a lot of men who subscribe to this channel, and I just thought it just adds this different flavor out there, and it's something I really wanted to do, a project I really wanted to undertake, so I'm doing it. So excited about this one. It's gonna be, video type of podcast, if you will. I'm also gonna do an audio version of it, so look for all the links below. Also, Sian was awesome. All her links are below as well, her YouTube, her Instagram, her Twitter, and this was fun. This was fun. I have more coming. I have other women lined up who I'm going to be talking to in the coming weeks. I want to do it weekly. So thanks for watching. I know the audio is a little bit off on my end, and I use the Zoom conferencing tool for that. So yeah, that was not the best idea, some of the settings I used there, and I now know how I'm going to do it going forward so that I actually have better mic quality on my end. That's a little frustrating, but it's not that bad. I'm just a perfectionist, and the discussion that we have is awesome. Sian has a ton of great information for anyone really interested in music. I feel like she dropped a lot of gems, a lot of music specific gems, and a lot of life gems. She is much wiser, I guess, in her years than you would say her age. So it really was a pleasure talking to her. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again at the end.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Awesome. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Thanks for having me talk with you. This is really cool. I like doing stuff like this. So
yeah, thank you, because you're my first. So
oh, cool.
I'm just psyched that it worked out that well. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm always down to do anything like this. I'm big on just sharing the knowledge and trying to just network with people. So I'm stoked too.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just going to go through, just ask you some stuff. I'm recording this all. This is going to be the first video, that I'm doing in this style, and I'm excited to do more, cause I want to hear your story. I want to hear other people's stories. Is my mic really loud? Yeah.
No, it sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, but it's so weird. I'm on the East Coast, so it's so weird seeing sunlight.
Oh yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I was wondering where you're at. So yeah, it's 8:30 over there, huh?
Yeah. No, but it's just funny. It's the whole daylight savings thing just screws me up.
Oh yeah, I slept through that. I didn't even know that was happening until I went to a session an hour. I was an hour off. They were I was, because my car clock, I was used to having, I never changed it back for the last daylight savings. So I was used to reading it an hour ahead. So I was oh, it's an hour ahead. I'm good. They're what are you doing? I was oh, I'm on time, right? No. Then I checked my phone. I'm oh shit, that is not the same time that was in my car.
Where are you? Are you in LA? Is that
yeah, I'm in North Hollywood. I actually just moved up here permanently on about a week ago, but I've been working up here for Atlantic for almost 2 years now, and I've been commuting for most of the 2 years from San Diego. It's about a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
So it was my car actually just broke down on me the other night, and it's perfect timing. I'm not even mad about it because it's a 98. It's 3 years younger than me. It's almost as old as me, and it has just under 300,000 miles on it. So I wasn't even surprised.
And when you say 2 hours away, is that with traffic or without traffic?
2 hours is a good base, with moderate traffic. Without traffic, it would probably be an hour and a half if you're zooming. I've made it in a little bit over an hour before, and I was going 100 the whole time. I wouldn't recommend it.
It's just funny.
it's like my employer, I work full time, and they're out in Silicon Valley, and like it's just like a whole different world in California. Like the traffic's bad on the East Coast, but it's like nothing compared to just how many cars there are on the road on the West Coast.
Yeah, and there's so many transplants and everybody. I mean, to go 10 miles, like right now, like after this, I'm going to go do a little St. Patty's thing at my homie's house in LA, only like 20 miles away from me. It's going to take me like 40 minutes to get there. You know, I mean, it's so frustrating when you see on the GPS, like 7.2 miles away, 38 minutes, you know, and that's every time, unless you're like, I was basically only like a very small window, like ahead of of like the workday, and then you gotta wait until after like 7:30 or 8:30 when everybody's finally gone home from work. Those 2 times you might not catch any traffic, but pretty much the whole day, weekend or weekday, all traffic. It sucks. It really sucks. It makes it hard to move around up here for sure. You have to anticipate like how long
time everything.
Yeah,
that's like my trips into New York City. It's like I don't want to have to wait for too much time to get through. So
New York is crazy. I went there for the first time. I went for a week in the beginning of August and then a week in the end of August to do some work for Sony. And I didn't drive myself everywhere, but like even just being in the Ubers and being a passenger was like nerve wracking. It gave me anxiety. I can't imagine driving in the city.
There's a much more chill vibe over in California. Yeah, in New York City, like everyone's just like F you, like out of my way. If you don't know how to drive, forget it.
It was a culture shock for sure, because I'm from San Diego, but I grew up on the East Coast a little bit too, because my dad was in the military. So growing up, I moved like every 3 years. So I lived in Virginia. I went to middle and high school in Virginia. So I had like that experience, but New York is its own different beast, man. Like it's everything is true about it. Like it's so unique. And yeah, it was a major culture shock for me, especially the second time where I was staying was like a 10-minute walk away from like our home studio setup. So every morning, you know, I had a 10-minute walk, and it was like something different every day. It was intense.
That's how I think like I probably like got on my radar, is I had gone to like one of the Paso Oxes with Illmind, and so I think like I was like, you know, tied into his IG, and I think I saw you mentioned or somewhere, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I started following you on IG and just sort of like kept following you and your journeys. And
oh, thank you. Yeah, that's cool. A lot of people have like will DM me and be like, hey, I started following you through Illmind. Yeah, he's the best. I love him so much. I mean, that's so cool. You went to one of the Paso Ox, so you know, kind of like he's like literally the coolest fucking person ever. I mean, it
was a cool vibe. It was like I had never played my music for anybody, like literally outside of like my wife and like a few friends, and like just sort of weird to be in this room of like just all these people and just like play your music, like, but the vibe was so cool. Like everybody was just like really cool, and it was a really nice experience. And like I fuck with him because like he's like you know, he's chill. Like I just like his vibe. He's got a vibe, and I actually found him through Gary Vee because I've been a big Gary Vee fan,
of course,
like 10 plus years, and so it's just like you gotta like follow those paths to like, you know, people that you vibe with.
Yeah, definitely, and he's so like on top of like one thing that I've been learning from him, and I've been working with Ill for probably like a year now. What happened? How I even started working with him was like the most random, craziest story. He literally like I've been a fan of his for a long time. You know, I started before I was like full-time engineer.
You started making beats, right? Like that was a while ago, right?
Yeah, like I'm 23 now, so that was like 10 years ago. When I was like 12 or 13, you know, my best friend like hooked me up with a cracked version of FL on my PC laptop and like all that stuff. So, you know, as a producer, I was a fan of him, and I've been following him on Instagram and Twitter for a while. So one day on Twitter, he puts out a tweet. This was like probably first session was, I think, like actually March of last year. So it was just around a year, maybe February. So just around a year ago now. And he put out a tweet that said, I need a hungry upcoming audio engineer to do unpaid sessions with me this week, vocal tracking, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. In North Hollywood, which I work in North Hollywood anyways. So it was like, I sent the email thinking like, well, the crazy thing is, so I woke up, I saw the tweet because of my hours. It was like probably like 4 in the afternoon when I woke up. You know what I mean? I sleep usually during the day and I'm working most of the night. And so I had seen the tweet really late, and he's on the East Coast. So it was like 3 hours later than I had even seen it. And then I remember I got up and I had to do something. I didn't want to just send it from my phone. Like I wanted to like take the time to put together like a professional email. You know what I mean? So it ended up being like 8 hours after I saw the tweet that I actually sat down, sent the email, and I was like, oh, it's been 8 hours. He's probably found someone already. Like I sent it, but I was like, he's never even going to see it. Mine is probably like going to be so buried. And the way he says it is like he woke up, I guess because I waited so long and because of the time change, it worked because he gets up, he's an early bird. So he'll get up at like 6 in the morning, East Coast time. So I guess he woke up and my email was the very first one and the only one that he opened. And he said my name's kind of unique, you know? So he said he recognized my name as someone I have been interacting with him. I like his posts. I retweet his tweets, you know. He was like, you know, it seemed legit. And I felt like I also might as well give the opportunity to somebody who actually fucks with me and knows who I am. That's and then, we had a week together. And at the end of the week, he was just basically like, you know, whenever I come out here, I'd rather not work with anybody else. If you're down, like, I'd love to keep hitting you up. And so anytime he's in LA and he needs an engineer, he hits me up. It's really, really sick. I mean, he's the best. You know, I learned so much, and excuse me, it's just fun. Like, he's just really fun to work with. And on top of that, he is so talented and makes such good music. Like, it's just, whenever he's in town, you know, I just always tell him to let me know. I block out my schedule. Yeah. I'll drop everything to work with him. I mean, he's like my favorite person to work with right now. One of them, definitely top 3. I mean, it's so fun. That's really the best cool. I can put it.
To just hear like how that, you know, like how that worked out. Like,
oh yeah, it's so random. That's why I tell people all the time, man, shoot your shot professionally on social media. I'm not talking about like shoot your shot personally too, all you want, but yeah. I'm talking strictly career wise. Like, it's worked for me. You know, there are people that I've gotten in contact with that, you know, something as simple as like someone like Scoop DeVille followed me not too long ago, another producer that I really love and look up to. And he followed me and started he liked a couple of my posts. I just shot him, I had already been following him. So I just shot him a DM that said like, yo, I'm a huge fan. Like, thanks so much for showing me love and following me. If you ever need assistant or a runner or help, like, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. And he hit me back like, yo, we see you, queen. Like, keep doing it. I'll definitely keep that in mind. Like, we haven't actually worked together, but the fact that maybe in the future he might remember like, oh, we need some extra help. Like, I follow this girl on Instagram and she DM'd me. You know what I mean? Something, yeah. You just plant those little seeds. And I've personally witnessed, like, through social media, especially Instagram, I mean, all of that has like worked wonders for me. It doesn't obviously always work, but the worst someone can say is no.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, but yeah, I've been in this life a little while, and I definitely have experienced that in various aspects of, you know, things I've done both professionally and personally, like, for sure. Let's hear a little bit about like, you know, how, so you talked about like making beats and then, you know, getting into engineering. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just like, tell me like right now, if you had to like say like who you are, like who you are, like if nobody knows you right now or what you're doing, like,
man, I'm just a nerd who loves sound. Catch me behind the boards, pressing knobs, rolling backwards in the session. That's really me, man. I've actually realized I like that question a lot because recently I actually have realized that being an engineer is like literally part of my identity now. Like, which can be looked at as a positive or negative thing, but I really like it because I love my work. I love what I do. I want to keep doing this for as long as I can and keep working with super dope people and making awesome music. And I just realized like, it's just, that's who I am now. I'm just an audio engineer, whether I'm working with someone big like Illmind or working with somebody who's signed to Atlantic, or if I'm working with a local artist or somebody who I've never even met before who hit me up on Instagram and I'm just doing remote stuff. I love all of that. Like, that's what gets me up in the morning, knowing that I can get up and mix, or that I'm getting up and I have a studio session to go to. I mean, that's just me. I feel like that's just part of my identity now. There's very little separation. Like, I like stuff outside of it, but everything that I'm into right now and everything that really just like gets me hyped is all engineering related, all sound related.
What like just a little bit like about your journey. So you were like making beats, and like, so what happened between you making beats at 13 and then getting to the point where, you know, you're a sound engineer? Like, what, like, quick few minute version of that trajectory?
Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, it's like, it seems like a long time, but it's like really not. But I mean, I guess it is like 10, almost 11 years now, but it doesn't even really feel that long. It's just something that was, you know, I really, like, the long and short of it, I've just been very fortunate to be able to turn a hobby into a career. You know, it was a hobby, making beats, recording my friend in the Cool Edit Pro on a little USB.
I use that program. I know Cool Edit Pro.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're an OG. You already know.
Became
so, like,
Adobe Audition. And
exactly, yeah. But man, we use Cool Edit. We ran that thing till the wheels fall off. Like, it was like I was engineering, but I was literally just pressing record for him and stuff. And then what really did it, so there's this producer named Mike Colombo who's super dope, and I'm just now kind of like getting back on YouTube and stuff, but at the time, like, I remember YouTube was super popping. It's not what it is now, you know what I mean? It's YouTube's still popping, but it was different back when I was growing up. I used to make stupid little videos with my friends and stuff like that. But, you know, one thing I would check on every day was, like, I had a bunch of people I subscribed to, and I wanted to watch a new video. So Mike Colombo was one of those people, and he used to do like these really cool things called like a 30-day beat challenge, and where he would post a video of himself making a beat every day. But one day he posted this video that was like different than the rest of them. It wasn't him making beats. It wasn't him talking about making beats. It was basically him saying like, hey guys, you all watch my videos and you see me make the beat, and then you hear the end version of it. But this is what happens in between. I have this guy who mixes it. And so they did a little video of this guy who was in the Netherlands who mixed all of his stuff. And so that's when I really found out like what an audio engineer was. I was probably like 15 or 16 at that point.
Okay.
And then from there, like, you know, it showed the faders, you know, the typical studio shots. You see all the lights going, the faders going, like, It looks so cool. And then he was just talking about what mixing was, and it just like really like piqued my attention. And then audio engineering was just something that I kind of just kept researching. And then the summer before I went into 11th grade in high school, so at this time I was living on the East Coast, but after I moved away from San Diego, I went back every summer because my mom's side of the family was living there, and we've always been really close with them. So I was back in San Diego visiting, and my aunt's, well, I guess now he's my uncle, but at the time they were just dating. So my aunt's boyfriend's son, he's an insane guitarist. He was going to this recording arts school called Media Tech. And they were like, my family knew I was like into making beats. I was, at this point, was playing drums in a band. I had grown up playing drums in concert band in middle school and stuff like that. And so they're like, you know, maybe you could check it out. Cause like I was about to go into 11th grade. I wasn't really sure what was going to happen for me after high school. And so I took a tour, like literally walked from my grandparents' house to the school. That's how close it was. So it was just kind of like a meant to be type of thing. And I took the tour, and I just remember thinking like, wow, I can't believe I have 2 more years of high school. Like, I want to come here now. So then graduated high school in June 2014. By August 2014, I had moved back to San Diego, started school at the end of August, and then it was just a year program. So I graduated in 2015, and then worked at the school for like a year after as a studio tech. And one of the people that, one of my friends and mentors, George, I worked with him. He's one of my coworkers, and he started interning for Atlantic after we all stopped working at that school. The school actually closed down, so we all like got laid off, you know, like I don't know what it was. The owner just decided to like close that location down. So I was interning at other studios in the area and stuff, but George had a car and he was able to like commute to North Hollywood. He was interning at Atlantic. And he had hit me up about it, like, hey, do you want to be an intern also? And I was like, dude, I'm down, but I don't have a car yet. So I can't really commit to a commute like that. And then eventually I got a car. And so I let him know, just like, you know, if there's any openings, please let me know. Keep me in mind. A couple months later, he just hit me and was like, hey, they need some more engineers. Can you come in for an interview this weekend? And so he hooked me up with the studio manager at the time. We exchanged some emails back and forth, set up an interview time. And I believe the interview was like on a Thursday. And he was like, well, do you want to have a session on Saturday? We'll see how you do. I was like, yeah, let's do it, man. And so I've been there ever since. And then, nice. You know, just being at Atlantic, being able to network with other people, that's how I've been able to kind of expand my clientele. And like Illmind is like a totally personal, I don't want to call him, I hate to call him a client, but he's a personal connection that I've made on my own, you know, right. Outside of the label. But me having the credentials of like working at Atlantic and with some Atlantic artists, you know, definitely helps boost credibility, you know? So I guess that's like the fastest way to put it. I mean, it's really all networking. Like my mentor was in there and he, you know, put in a good word for me. And then it was on me from there to, you know, show my skills.
That's like, it's awesome that everything like along the way, like just seemed to fall in place.
Yeah, man. It's crazy too. Like looking back on it, I'm like, damn, I was really lucky because at the time I was never the kid that knew what they wanted to do. Like I always have friends that were like, you know, from a young age, like I want to go to school for this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, like I played drums for a long time, but I was in a band that like, it was a weird situation and we didn't play music that I liked. And it really made me not like drumming anymore.
What kind of band was it?
We played stuff like rockabilly music, like old American, like honky tonk, fucking pontoon.
Wow.
The Summer of '69, I have a visceral reaction when I hear that song because I've played it so many times. I hate that song.
So were these like friends or people in school and like they were forming a band and
pretty much. So it was a weird situation. So it was like in middle school band, like the percussionists and the brass players would be in one class together and then the woodwinds would be in the other class. And then we would only, because there was just so many kids, they couldn't have the whole band in one class. So and then we would only practice together when there was like concerts and you know, spring and winter concerts and stuff like that. So this girl, Taylor, who was in the woodwind class, I didn't really know her that well. We went to different high schools. And so she messaged me on like Facebook, I think, and was like, hey, you know, I know we didn't really talk, but I was in band too. I was just wondering if you still play drums and if you play on like a drum set or you only do concert stuff. And I was like, yeah, I have a drum set. Like I play drums too. And she was like, okay, cool. Well, like me and then this other girl, Hillary, that I did know, I had like a couple gym classes with her throughout middle school. She was like, we play guitar, which I didn't know at the time. And, you know, we have this band and we would like you to like, you know, we need a drummer. We're trying to do an all girl band type of thing. And it was cool. But then one day I looked up and there was 8 guitarists, a bassist and me. And I was like, what am I doing here? You know? It was just a strange, it was weird. They were really cool though. The 2 main girls, Taylor and Hillary, they could shred. I mean, they were like, and probably still are, super badass guitarists. It was like, but also then it was like practice was every Saturday. Okay, they just have their guitar and their amp. I have a freaking, you know, 6-piece drum set, plus all I had like toys on there. I had like extra cymbals and little like percussion instruments that I would like tighten to my cymbal stands. Like I had so much shit to move, and my dad at the time was driving a Prius, so moving all that stuff in the Prius, like it just, you know, it took me like an hour. I had to get there an hour early, and then I would leave practice an hour late. Like
everything for a reason, right? This exactly on the path where you're like, I don't want to be a drummer.
Exactly, like that just made me know I didn't want to do that professionally at all, you know. So yeah, everything, I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason. So it's like, even though at the time stuff didn't really make sense, like looking back on it, I'm like, everything actually made a lot of sense, you know?
It doesn't. I mean, you're really lucky that like like at your age that you found something you were that passionate about, like what you're saying, like, you know, you just like live for it, like waking up, like, you know, all you can think about is like engineering. I mean, like that's really cool that you found that at such a young age, because some people, like, you know, they're like 30 and they're still, you know,
figuring it out. Yeah, no, I definitely, thank you. And I definitely do feel like super fortunate. I work with a lot of like, with people who are, you know, maybe like 10, 15 years older than me. They say the same thing. They're like, girl, you have a head start on everybody. Like once they find out my age, because I look like I'm 17, but when they find out, like, how old are you actually? I'm 23. Oh, you're gonna be fine. You got such a head start. Like I get told that all the time. So I feel really lucky. And also that it's like, I'm able to like make a decent living off of it. I mean, you know, my car just broke down. I'm not going to be able to buy another car for a little bit, but like, you know, day to day.
You can you'll figure that out.
Yeah. Like day to day, you know, I can pay my rent. Day to day, I can, you know, make sure I have food in my stomach and keep myself hydrated. I have a little bit of extra money for weed and beer when I want it, you know? So like, I feel lucky that at this age and in such like a fickle industry, because I remember 2 years ago, like right when I graduated college, like it would be weeks and months before I had a session or even a project to work on, you know? And sometimes if I feel frustrated, I definitely try to remember that, because like now if I go more than a couple of days without either having a project to work on from home or getting hit up for a session, it's completely abnormal. And I get like anxiety about it. I'm like, I don't want to just be sitting home, like doing nothing. You know what I mean?
I'm going to put all your links below, like in the description, so that people can find you. But just like right now, like what's the best place? Like where, I know you have like a new YouTube channel that you're building, like, but what, you know, tell me, like, where can people find you?
Instagram is probably like my most, like I'm most active on Instagram. And it's also like, where, I don't know, I interact with people every day on Instagram. So it's at Conductor Sian, conductor like a train, and then SIAN. And then my Twitter is the same thing. My Twitter is not really as popular, but I get drunk and tweet, so that might be interesting to people. And then yeah, YouTube is just Sian McMullen, SIAN MCMULLEN, and I'm just starting on that. I'm really excited. Actually, thanks to Illmind, he was the one who was like, you know, I think you would really benefit from posting tutorials and just doing content and stuff. So I'm really excited about the next thing I'm going to post, because he actually let me shoot like a kind of a little behind the scenes thing during we worked for a whole week, the week of the 4th. So he let me do like a little behind the scenes thing, and I'm excited to post that. I think that'll be cool. So yeah, I'm definitely trying to like push out some content and just like more like educational stuff, or stuff that could, like, I would have found helpful like 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram are like the main things for me right now.
Okay, that's awesome. And I'm glad you said your name, because I thought I was going to say Sean. So say it again for me.
Shan. It's like the I is a H. It's a half of Shannon. Yeah. Or like MC. You seem like you would know who MC Shan is. You know, the old school MC.
I actually don't. I gotta look that one up. But
oh man, MC Shan. It's like early Nas days. He did The Bridge Is Over. They had the whole Queensbridge like beef or whatever. But yeah, that's why I tell people, I'll be like, yo, it's just like literally like MC Shan, but it's literally just, it was like SHAN. Yeah.
It's funny. Like I live like my sort of hip hop exposure. Was like the equivalent of like Yo MTV Raps, and like Queen Latifah was like the woman.
Yeah.
And then
and
then I slowly just like felt, I mean, there's a lot about the culture. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
And I love music, and I listen to so many different kinds of music. And I just, you know, there's only so many things my brain can hold and remember from the past.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is actually part of what I find hard these days, is because I'm constantly working on music, and a lot of the stuff I do at Atlantic is they're writers who are trying to get right for the bigger artists like Cardi B, Kevin Gates, you know what I mean? They're trying to write hooks for them and help give them ideas and stuff for like the next big hit. So a lot of it sounds so like everything that's on the radio. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of it is like, and people are good. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't make it bad, but it's just a lot of like the same thing. So for me to go out and like want to listen to new music that's out, and with streaming now, it's so overwhelming, and there's so much content. Like it just, I can't keep up. Like you just said, it's overwhelming. I mean, it's way too much.
It's like an interesting time in music. I mean, I think we're like at this like pinnacle point, and I'm just curious like to see from here. You know.
All I know is that Illmind actually broke this down to me. So this was interesting because I guess with, you know, when you would buy the CD, they only get the CD payment. They don't get paid every time you listen to that in your car or on you play it, you burn it into your iTunes. They don't get paid per play, you know? Now with streaming, every time there's a play, whether it's a whole album or just a single, somebody's getting paid for that. So I think because of the money thing, it's only going to get, I don't know if to say better or worse. I guess it depends on how you look at it. But because it is such a lucrative business, like it's just going to keep, I mean, they're going to put more steroids in it and keep growing it.
But that's the thing now too, is like the big thing, like, you know, the big chatter is about like all the click farms in like Asia and all these places where there's really like buildings where like people are like, somebody's sitting with like, you know, 300 phones in front of them and they're like playing.
They're just playing.
They're playing. It's like somebody has paid for the clicks for, you know, for Spotify, you know, whatever, let's say like 500,000 clicks, and, you know, they paid somebody to do that for them. So it's sort of like, I'm really like, again, I'm just curious to see how this just affects like,
everything
what we're listening to and like who, I mean, it's tough. It's just,
that's what's making those like type of click farms and stuff. That's what's making it so hard to tell whose numbers are true or not, because, you know, you have someone like, I mean, a perfect example, we're not going to hear from him for a long time, but like 6ix9ine, you know, his whole thing is like, you know, top 3 Billboard, every one of my songs has been like a #1 Billboard. It's like, okay, but is that really true? Or is there some type of machinery going on behind there that's like upping your clicks? And like nothing against him. I mean, like that's just an example because he was the one always like talking about how it could be anybody. Anybody doing big numbers like that. Yeah, it's just like, it's so... it's all smoke and mirrors, you know. It's such an illusion now.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. That's a whole road we don't need to go down.
Seriously
about you. But like, all right. So getting back on track, like, do you have any advice for like, you know, being a woman, like, you know, in the music industry, like, you know, as a sound engineer, as a beat maker, as a producer, whatever, like as a DJ, you know, like there's just like so many guys, like it is just like, let's be
so male dominated.
Totally is. Like, do you have any tips like for, you know, anybody out there that's a woman that like maybe somebody younger than you that wants to be a sound engineer or, you know, wants to pursue a career in music, like anything that you...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the biggest thing is to just not be intimidated because, like, I mean, I've definitely had instances where people just like are not happy that I'm their engineer. You know, they walk into the room and it's like whether they say it or they try to hide it, but they're visibly like disappointed. You know, that type of stuff like definitely happens. But with that, usually within the first 5 minutes of me tracking, they're like, okay, you kind of know your stuff. And it like sucks that we have to like prove ourselves more, because if it was just a dude, they wouldn't have had that thing. But what I've found personally is that a lot of guys are really stoked to work with me, with just a female engineer in general. A lot of them will say things like, you know, I've been wanting to work with a woman producer. Like, we need to have more women in the field. And that's really cool. And what's funny is a lot of them say the same two things. The reason they think more women should be in the studio atmosphere is because they pay attention to detail more and they care more. Like, they all say, all the guys who are like so for it, they always mention those two things. It's so funny. But yeah, I think like that's a major key, is to not be intimidated and let the fact that it's like a bunch of guys like scare you away. Obviously, like you don't, as you know, there are a lot of times where I'm the only woman in the room, and you don't want to put yourself in a bad or potentially like dangerous environment, of course. But you know, just because it's guys isn't just a reason. If you get bad vibes from them or whatever, trust your instinct. But just because it's dudes, like you shouldn't just say, oh, they're not gonna fuck with me just because I'm a girl. Like a lot of guys really do. So I think like don't be intimidated is like a major key. And also to just be yourself, whoever that is. People respect that. And I think that just goes for anybody really in life, but especially in the music industry. There's so many people who are just like, will sell you a dream. They'll tell you this and that. Like, I want to work with you. And I had somebody tell me, they're like, yo, like they heard some of my beats and they were like, I'm going to have you in a Lamborghini in a year. It's been 2 years. I haven't worked with that person ever. You know what I mean? It's just, there's a lot of people who are just like playing shit up and like kind of like faking it. And it's easy to tell if you're, I don't know, it's just that saying, like real recognize real. It's easy to tell who's faking it. It's easy to tell who's authentic. And if you're just being your true, like authentic self, people really resonate with that and will want to work with you more. I mean, one thing I say all the time, and this is not to be like, I'm super cool or anything, but the reason why people book me repeatedly is because they can hang out in a room with me for 12 hours. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter if I was, and I'm not the best engineer. I still have a lot more to learn, and I'm looking forward to be able to learn all that. But even if I knew everything, which is impossible, but let's just say I knew everything there was to know about engineering. If I was an asshole, no one would book me, you know? So just being yourself and being like a decent person, I think those two things really, really go a long way. And honestly, speak more about your personality, like, because at the end of the day, it is a big social game, like being in a studio. And that's one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, that I'm trying to help like shed more light on, is like there is such a social aspect to it. And it doesn't matter if you're the best engineer, producer, songwriter, A&R, if you're a dick, nobody's going to want to have you around for too long and work with you for an extended period of time. And that's just kind of a fact, you know? So I think those are like the best advice I could give.
That is a lot of gems, like for sure.
Thanks.
And like at your young age, like the whole authenticity thing, like I just think that is just like a tough nut to crack for some people. Like, they just don't get it, you know, especially when you're young and you're trying to be something that you're not, because, you know, it's like fake it till you make it. And you just don't get like what a detriment that like can just be like.
And then reputation is everything, you know, unfortunately, like in this industry, like, you know, when you get talked about when you're not in the room, people either have good things to say about you or bad things to say about you. And if people have bad things to say about you to somebody else who has never worked with you, that mutual party is now like they had a bad experience with you because you were just like doing too much, coming in and, you know, with the ego and whatever. They're like, you know what, the engineer was dope, but like they acted like a piece of shit. I never want to work with them again. This new person who's never even met you before, this is their first time hearing about you, will for sure never book you because they heard it through somebody else. So if your reputation becomes that you're difficult to work with, or that you just don't know your stuff, whatever the case may be, I mean, that goes a long way. So even if you like are trying, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna go in today and try to be this person, that could be the one day that you totally ruin it for yourself, you know? So I think, yeah, just being yourself and just being genuine is just so important. And also for me, I don't like to work with people who are faking it. I don't like to work with people who are not. I'm very much myself, and I like to work with people who are the same way. That's part of why I love working with Illmind and one of his songwriters, Tony, that he brings. They're very much themselves, and like our photographer who's usually with us, Jay, like he is very much himself, and we all, you know, we're spending like 12 hours minimum in a room together, and we like that about each other. And I'm a believer that like you attract what you are. So if you are being yourself and you're being authentic and you're being genuine, the chances of you attracting people like that and working with them are just go that much higher. And those are the type of people I want to work with.
Yeah. So true. That's so true. I'm just like mind blown because I know like you're really young, so I'm just like, wow, this is like, I'm like cool. Like I just love like all these gems and stuff that you have to.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it. No, I'm just a student. I'm just a student, forever a student. You know, I've been.
Well, so okay, so like I know you like using like Pro Tools, right? That's like
oh yeah, Pro Tools is my main.
Is there like a certain like VST plugin, like something like that? I don't know, like right now, like is your like like I'm gonna slap that on
like everything.
On like
you know what? I'm always gonna champion this plugin, man. The Valhalla Vintage Verb is like the god reverb. I love that thing. Like I love all the parameters. I love that when you hover the mouse over a certain parameter, it will tell you what that parameter does, like instead of you having to try and figure it out. You know what I mean? It allows you to do so many cool things. I love that reverb, man. I love that plugin. It's like Frank's hot sauce. I put that shit on everything. I'll use it as a regular like parallel patch. But I'll also use it directly as an insert on the track too. And just it has a mix knob on it, so you can adjust the wet and dry within the plugin itself. Really cool for ad libs and stuff that requires like, or not requires, but stuff that I feel like, you know, could use like be more effect heavy and be more ambient, or be like just make stuff sound cool. You know, you have a lot of options. And then as far as like dynamic processing, I'm like super biased to the SSL stuff because I was fortunate enough to go to the school I went to had a SSL duality on it. So even though the plugins, they're not like, you know, the emulators are good, but you can't fully get the analog sound, but I still really like what it adds to it. And just like, I don't really use the gate on it. It's an EQ, a compressor, and a gate. And so I don't really use the gate too much, but I do like to do, if I'm going to add any frequencies, I like to do it in there. And then I like to use that compressor to just like tighten it up a little bit. So
what version of that? So if you're using the plugin, so is it like the Waves version?
Yeah, the Waves. The Waves SSL channel. Yep. Yeah, you're hip.
Okay. All right. What I had some other questions for you. I want to make sure like I hit on them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like, so okay, like a tip for somebody, like something that like, you know, like other sound engineers, like I don't know, like some little gem that like you can share that you might do that you can like vocalize, like that, like maybe, I don't know, you don't want to share all your secrets or anything, but I don't know, something other people maybe like, I don't know, screw up, but you got a scrappy way to, I don't know, just make something.
Like as far as like preparing for a session, or like
I don't know, any kind of tidbit that I guess you
well, everybody knows Command Z. Command Z is your best friend. Don't freak out. Don't forget that you have that. I guess one thing, a big thing that I've been doing recently, and something that I am like a strong believer in now, is compressing on input when you have the capability. Not too crazy though. Like, you know, obviously if you're compressing on input when it's coming into Pro Tools, like that's how it stays. So if you're coming in, you're slamming the vocal, you can't fix that afterwards. It's done outwards. So that is like a really cool and easy way to just have like a solid tight vocal from where it comes into, versus if you're just going in on the transients are going everywhere. If you just kind of like tame the and I say vocal, but I mean signal in general. I just tend to be mostly a vocal tracking engineer these days. But any signal, anything that you're coming into, like if you can tame it a little bit and just kind of like control both ends of the waveform, then I think that makes a big difference. And it kind of just, it's, you do it, you set it, you know, check it, make sure that you're not peaking or whatever. But once it's like kind of at the level where you want, as long as the whatever you're recording isn't like crazy dynamic, is probably going to be okay. And then you kind of don't have to worry about that as much after, because you're already taking care of it before. So I think that's just a good way to like save time, you know, because then you don't have to spend, I mix as I record. So you don't have, I won't have to spend as much time, you know, going in and compressing afterwards because I know I've already taken care of it, you know, beforehand. If it needs a little bit more, I'll do it then. But like, you know, I pretty much like how the signal comes in when I'm able to do that. And one of my favorite compressors to use is the CL1 TubeTech CL1B. It's like the blue face one. Yeah. And I think that's like for vocals, super great. I love using that one on input. And then the other thing would just be on, and this is like a basic one, but just knowing shortcuts. Like, you know, there's millions of them, like for every DAW, whatever DAW you use, there's so many of them, you know, like, and they're always making new versions of the DAW. So there's always going to be new shortcuts, but just trying to stay up on those, and not saying you have to know all of them, but take the time to commit to memory the shortcuts that you learn, that you need to use the most, that are going to save you the most time. So, you know, instead of like manually going up and clicking on the zoom in and zoom out buttons, you know that R and T are there so that you don't have to, you know, that little couple of seconds, it might only take a couple of seconds, but it's a couple of seconds every couple of minutes, you know, that takes time. So, you know, learning the shortcuts that are actually useful to you. So true. Important. Yeah, it helps.
I'm like so guilty. Like, Lord only knows how much time I've wasted clicking when I should have just learned the damn shortcut already.
Do you use Pro Tools too?
No, just in general for any DAW. I've been DAW hopping. I was on Ableton for a really long time as a DJ, and then just a year ago started like trying to make beats again. I had tried to make music probably like 10 years ago. It was just 10 years ago. It just felt like, you know, YouTube wasn't where it was at now. And they're just like all these just roadblocks. So anyway, so I've been using Machine a lot, Ableton, Studio One. I've been
Machine is the shit, man. Machine is so cool how it makes it so that you don't actually have to use, you don't actually have to even like touch the keyboard, you know?
Yeah, but then it's like you have that. It's a pain in the ass because it's like not a linear DAW. It's like but it's old.
I don't like how it forces you into its workflow. Like you can't really pick your workflow. Like Machine has a workflow and you have to use that.
Yeah, or like just like obsessed over the best workflow to like get out of it. So anyway, like everybody obsesses about that. But it's really cool. So like. I don't want to keep you for too long because I know like there's these St. Patrick's Day festivities.
No, it's cool, man. I can wait to poison myself a little bit longer.
Which is funny because it's like 9:10 here now, so it's like
your night's like over.
5 beers into the day now. So
what are you drinking over there? I just have a Corona.
Three Philosophers. I always say the brewery wrong. I'm a gang, I'm a tang, something, whatever.
Dark. I'm gonna have to check that out. I like IP. I'm kind of just starting, you know, I'm 23, so I'm finally just kind of starting to get into like actually enjoying beer, and like wine I still don't fuck with that much, but like I'm starting to discover, you know, different breweries that I like and stuff. So, and I like the name Three Philosophers. That sounds dope. So I'm gonna just have to try it off of the name.
It's like a really like dark heavy beer. It's like 9 or 10% alcohol content. So it's like you pour it into this little glass, but this is very potent.
Yeah. No, I wasn't sure. I thought that was like wine. So when you said that was beer, I was like, oh wow, that's a heavy one.
All right. So like, so one of the last questions is, I know we talked a little bit like about music and like there's so much music like going on, but like what do you listen to? Like, what are you listening to right now? Is there something like you have on repeat, like an album that you're really like digging, a genre that you're into?
I love Masego's album, Lady. It's a couple months old now, but have you heard of Masego?
I have.
Okay. Yes. Have you listened to the album?
I haven't listened to the whole album. I've listened to some songs, but I am blown away. And I saw some YouTube videos and stuff. And
yeah. Oh, he's so talented. I love his music. I could listen to that all the time, man. I think like that album is just so good. There's an artist named Dunya who I've met a couple of times, but I've never gotten the pleasure of working with her. I would love to work with her.
That's so funny. I gotta tell this story because it's too funny. Like one of my biggest challenges when I make beats, and like I have this other like channel where I post my beats, and like I made a beat. And I literally go on Spotify and I'm like, okay, who does this sound like? Like I don't know, like, you know, because I'm trying to like maybe market it to somebody who might actually like, I don't know, like
purchase it. Yeah.
Right. So like I'll go on Spotify and like I recently found Dunya because it like popped up. Like I was listening to some playlist and I was like, oh, this beat sounds like that beat. All right. So it's so funny. I like actually who that is.
That's crazy. Yeah, a lot of people don't know who she is. She's super dope, man. She's been releasing a couple new singles. Like I think she has another one that's coming out in a couple of days. I'm excited for it. Like, yeah, she's super dope. I'm trying to think of newer stuff because honestly, like I do listen to a lot of stuff from like growing up, like when I first fell in love with music and like especially hip hop and rap, like in the like early 2000s, like when I really started listening to stuff. I've been listening to a lot of older T.I., like the King album. I love that album. Rich Boy, one of Rich Boy's first albums, like I could listen to that shit all day. I love it. Yo, Victory Lap by Nipsey Hussle, still on repeat. That's such a good album. It was amazing that he was nominated for a Grammy as well. That was cool. Like I wish he would have won it. I think that was a great album. And then I did just get to, I'm also super biased because I work with so Illmind's manager Jonathan. Mm-hmm. He is the president of a label called Same Plate.
Right.
And the first time I went to New York, actually at the beginning of last August, the reason I went there was because they're 50-50 partners with Sony. So it's like a joint venture label type of thing.
Okay.
It's John's label. So I met John through Illmind, obviously. And, they had me come out and they rented out a brownstone in, I think we were in Harlem. And then I flew in a day early, built a little home studio in the basement. And then the next day, all the artists flew in. At the time, they have a couple more that are signed, but this was like, at the time, I believe it was like 8 of the signed artists. And we all lived in the house together for a week and we recorded a whole album in 3 days. And I got like 8 hours of sleep in those 3 days because there was 8 of them and 1 me. But just like being able to, like, they're all so good. There's this guy, Toby, who's been putting out some new music lately. He has a new track out that's called Sweet Poison. That's really, really good. His City Blues song is like amazing. Like just thinking of it, I'm actually getting goosebumps. It's so good. And then another person signed to the label. 2 other people signed to the label are putting out music shortly or have just put stuff out. One guy named Marlon Craft. He's a really dope rapper. So I actually went.
Okay.
Have you heard any of his stuff?
I mean, I'm in New Jersey, so yeah, and like.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah, he's New York baby. So
yeah.
He's really dope. So the second time I went, he's just like a cool person and such a talented lyricist and rapper.
Young. He's like super young.
Yeah, I think he's 25.
Okay.
25? Yeah. He's or 26 maybe. I don't know. Somewhere around
there. Baby face, so he
yeah. Oh yeah,
me and looks, I guess.
Yeah, me and him we have that in common for sure. But he just put out a song called "Do the Work" that I actually recorded the original version of it out here in LA, I think. But he changed up some stuff, so I think he might have re-recorded it. So I don't know if like that, if anything if like that track is the version that I worked on. But either way, it's like a great song, and he just put out a song and a video for it. And then the last one I'll mention is another Same Play artist named Ronderful, and he makes like stuff like the internet, the band, like very kind of like jazz R&B, like just feel good music. There's a lot of he plays a lot of instruments. There's a lot of real instrumentation there.
That's cool.
He's from London. He's dropping his album soon, and he actually blessed me and gave me a sneak peek. He sent me the album, so I got to listen to it not too long ago, and it's really good. It's his debut album, and I'm like couldn't be happier for him. I think it's going to be received really well, and so I'm excited for that to be out so I can post about it more because I promised him I wouldn't. I don't want to, he hasn't dropped it yet, or I wouldn't show it to anybody. I'm not sharing it yet, but like once it does, I'm going to be, it's going to be, and Marlon too, he's dropping an album, that like me, like I recorded a lot of the stuff for his album too. And I'm excited about that. I think, that should be coming out within the next couple of months or so. So yeah, it's funny because I have like all this music already. So I listen to a lot of the stuff that I worked on, but it's not out yet. So
right.
You know, I can't like shout them out or anything like that. But
that's cool though. Like you were able to share like a bunch of names of, you know, people that like you're listening to that somebody might not have heard of already. And that's like,
yeah, sorry, that was a really long answer, but I just like,
it was perfect. It was perfect.
Kind of all over the place when it comes to music these days, man. But I just love anything that's good. Like, you know, people show me stuff and it's like, I might not remember the name of the artist or whatever, but it's like at the time, I'm like, yo, this is really good. I'm glad I listened to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you must just like, I mean, like you were saying, like, you know, Spotify's overwhelming, but the fact that like you're you know, working with so many, you know, different folks and stuff, like I can't even imagine like.
And then, yeah, it's because I become invested in the songs that I'm working on to the point where there's definitely a bias where I'm never like the person to just be like, yes, I love this, but there will be certain ones that like I've worked on like recently. Yeah. That I just truly love, and I will like listen to those all the time. But I'm like invested in them in a way that I can't be in music that I didn't work on because it's not as like personal to me, I guess. Like, and I think that's kind of where the overwhelmingness comes of like me just listening to like all this music that like. It's not just because it's like not because I didn't work on it that I don't want to listen to it. It's just like so much. It's just like, okay, what do I pick first? Like, what am I trying? What am I in the mood for? Like, and then, you know, trying new music. Like what's that girl's name? Billie Eilish. I've been trying to listen.
Oh yeah.
I've been trying to listen to some of her stuff. I put on an album and it was just like so hit or miss. I was like, I don't want to listen to an album with like every other song I don't really fuck with that much. It's not bad music by any means. It's just not like hitting me that way. But I liked some of them. So like to like put on a whole album and like it's like
you really investing in the whole album thing. It's so funny because as I've gotten older, like I don't listen to whole albums anymore, which is like bad. Like it's the whole experience, right? But at the same time, like I'm just like want to make sure like my ears are fresh, like what's going on, what are people listening to? So like I'm like killing myself with like, you know, like the most played, like the you know, US chart top 50 or like top pop, like and I say killing myself because there's some things I'm just like, nope, next one, nope.
No. Oh, that's so funny you say that because recently I've been trying to do that too. I'm like, okay, well, let me see what's on there, and I'm like, this is for real on the Billboard. This is number 5. Like, what is this right now? You know, or whatever it is. Yeah, there's so much stuff that's just like. That's the other thing too is like with the not only streaming but with like programs like DistroKid, TuneCore, and you know everybody can distribute their own music now. So whereas it used to be like, oh, if you're on iTunes, that's like a big deal. You know, if you had if you knew a local artist like on iTunes, it's like, okay, cool. Like, you know, there was like requirements. Now it's like everybody can just put their stuff out, and because of that, I think the average consumer, they're not, like mediocrity is totally not only accepted but desired. Like, give me more of that mediocre shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's so sad because then like the really good music kind of gets like swept under the rug.
And just everything gets forgotten about so quickly, right?
Yes.
Like every week, like there's something new.
Every week.
So
every day. Yeah. And like you said,
like every day, but it just even like, So it's just, I'm curious to see where we are 10 years from now. I think I hope eventually people like realize that like, no, we can't keep going this way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It might take like a big lawsuit or something. I don't know what needs to happen, man, but yeah, I don't know. It will definitely be really interesting just to see how people consume music, because there's got to be a next level to streaming that somebody's already developing right now, but I can't imagine what it is like unless it's like a microchip that's implanted in our brain, you know, which Who knows, man? It seems like we've been in the Matrix the past like 2 years, so
Well,
that very well could happen.
I mean, like, I'm 43, right? So I've been DJing since I was like 23. So it's been like, you know, it's like 20 years of being like immersed in like music. And
yeah, and as a DJ, you have to be up on the new music. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, like, unfortunately, the past like 5 years, like, it's been like I had kids and like, so it's been quiet. But now with Twitch, like, I've started like doing some live streaming stuff on Twitch, like, which is so freaking cool. Like, whoever thought like 10 years ago you could like be like in your house and freaking like streaming
and connecting with people all over the world, right?
It's so wild. So I'm gonna end it here because this was awesome. Like, I really appreciate you taking the time to like.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was dope.
And I'm gonna say Sian McMullen. Sian.
Yep. If you need to like write it down and spell it with an H, it's totally fine. Like, I don't care how people do it, as long as they, you know, it's just like saying it right, because it's a hard one. I'm like, my parents gave me they were like, looked at me and they're like, let's give her a little bit of a tougher time in life.
It's just, you know what it is? It's just it's that Irish words, names are just like misleading. Like, you know, like the pronunciation.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's what's funny too, because the place I'm going, like, one of my friends was like, well, you better not be coming if you're not wearing green. I'm like, yo, my name is Sian McMullen. I get a pass, all right? I'm as Irish as they get without actually being from Ireland.
You can have your own green room there.
Yeah, oh, well, it's green and blue. I don't know.
So,
weird. Yeah.
Anyway,
man, I didn't even think about that. Hold on, I'm on live right now. Let me take out this thing so they can hear you. I'll give you a shout out real quick. Like, doing pretty well.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Just got done with my interview. Blake, you want to say anything, Blake?
Check me out on Instagram. You can find me at Blake Hart Beats.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Hold on, my speaker. No.
You don't have
that's why. There we go.
It's all good.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead. I have it connected to my TV, so when I unplugged my headphones, it went right back to my TV. But yeah, go ahead and say, what's up, Blake?
Hey, Instagram world. Yeah, you can find me on Blake Hart Beats, and follow me if you want to check out some content like geared towards DJs, producers, music stuff, and yeah, that's what I'm doing on YouTube. And
what's up? What's up, Blake? What's up, Blake? Cool.
What's up?
Hold on, it's let me type in yours. Was it Blake with the beats?
Blake Hart Beats.
Blake.
And then heart, like as in like an actual heart.
And beats with an S, right?
Yep.
All right, yeah. You guys go ahead and follow her. All right, yo, I'm out. Cool. Thanks for being cool with that too. I always try to ask because like you never know, but people.
No, I gotta tell you,
talking, man.
Seriously, mad respect for you. You've got, at your age, you've got great professionalism, and definitely you'll go far with that. It gets that professionalism and authenticity gets you a long way. Like, that's all I gotta say. It's really, you know, and I think that's just so important. I'm really glad that I had you here because I just think that's so important for like some young people to have like these good role models. You know, like not only see like, okay, if you're a woman, you can do this, but like just, you know, being a good role model and like wanting to help people. So it's really awesome. I wish you a lot of success with your YouTube channel. All the links, I'm gonna put all your links down below when I post this to YouTube tomorrow, and we'll be good to go. And maybe we'll hook up somewhere. I mean, hey, if you're in the New York area again, like hit me up on IG because I'm like an hour away from the city. So
yeah, and if you ever happen to be in LA, please hit me up. We'll grab a beer or something. Yo, thank you so much for having me. It's like the fact that like someone like you is just like, you don't even know me, but you want to like talk to me and just like, you know, chop it up and like be able to like share this with people. Like, it's so flattering and honoring to me, for real. I really, really appreciate that. Like, it means a lot. So this was super sick. I had a lot of fun, and like anything you need help with, if you want to do another one, like, or even if you are looking for people that maybe to interview like another time, like any help you need with any of this, like I'm a big supporter. So, and I just started my YouTube, so I'll follow you or subscribe on YouTube and like, you know, show love there and everything. So don't be a stranger, for real. I appreciate it a lot.
All right. Sounds good. Have a fun night. Don't drink too much.
Hey, no promises.
All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you for watching the first installment of what I've called Women in Music. That may sound a little bland to you, but I just felt that those were the best words for this, since that's what people are probably going to be searching for, so they'll be able to find the content. It truly was a pleasure talking to Sian. All her information is down in the description there for you to be able to follow her, connect with her on Instagram, her new YouTube channel where she's talking about different Pro Tools things. I really learned a lot. I am not a sound engineer, not even anywhere close to it. So it was definitely like really awesome chatting with her. And I hope you enjoyed that. More to come soon. So excited about it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, and I'll see you again soon.